200 billion.
That's the number of times a reel is viewed on Instagram each day. That is over 24 times the world's population. That is over 3,333,333 times more than the number of times a human blinks every day. Despite how huge this number is, the biggest thing wasted by the end of it all is time. In a world where time is money, speed and efficiency are coveted. We see this in the modern job industry, but now we see it in entertainment. Whether it be TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or Instagram Reels, they all have one thing in common: rapid, mindless, short-form content. Almost everywhere, this content is accessible and rapidly consumable. In the span of an hour, almost 40 different short-form videos can be watched. With a type of media that is so conveniently viewable, there's no wonder why it's so pervasive. However, there is one question that still stands.
How did we get here?
On January 24, 2013, Dom Hoffman and his two colleagues launched their video editing app Vine. Under the leadership of Twitter at the time, the once editing-focused app slowly gravitated towards its more social, sharing-based aspects. The twist was, each video could only be 6 seconds long. The app was almost an instant success, and it soon became the most downloaded app on the Apple App Store. Yet, the limited management and increase in competition over its lifespan would lead to its downfall on January 17, 2017. You'd think that was the end, right? But the people at the time had no idea what was to come. How long do you think the average person can focus for? An hour? 30 minutes? 10 minutes? 5? According to Principal Jennifer Oten at Santa Maria College, the average person today has an attention span of 47 seconds. That was 47 seconds. Today, some state that attention span has plummeted even lower than that 47-second recording. Despite this possible decrease, human beings are actually known to have a large capacity for attention span. For example, 182 million people bought tickets and showed up to watch the climactic superhero film Avengers Endgame in theaters. But that movie was 3 hours long, which was actually a huge deterrent for many people. However, Shane Snow wrote in a Forbes article in 2023 that humans have an incredible capacity for a lengthened attention span, and this is seen through the popularity of books, movies, and video essays like this one. So why does attention span grow shorter over time? Well, it all has to do with the inner workings of the brain. The brain is a complex organ that more often than not controls you more than you control it. Neurotransmitters constantly fire in your brain with your every action, your every thought, and your every waking moment. And they stimulate different kinds of hormones: cortisol if you're stressed out, adrenaline if you're scared, and dopamine if you're happy. In fact, our brains are actively driven by dopamine to encourage happy actions, and scrolling is like an infinite dopamine glitch. If your brain is able to find a source of dopamine in 12 seconds of its time, it will naturally gravitate towards that source of dopamine because of its convenience. Sooner or later, the brain becomes dependent on that dopamine hit, and it becomes harder to break the habit. While I'm not suggesting that watching short-form content is akin to addictive drugs, they do function similarly on a psychological basis. It's no wonder the brain loves short-form content when it generates dopamine so quickly. It always seems that short-form content goes by quickly. I'm sure you're thinking, obviously, but during a session of scrolling, it seems that the 4 or 5 videos you just watched were actually 15 to 20, and soon enough, 2 hours has gone by like nothing ever happened. It's happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to you. The question is, why is this? Why does short-form content feel so quick? Take a moment to imagine yourself at a party. There's blaring music, carbonated drinks, too many people for one suburban home, and it's meant to last 4 hours. But between chatting with friends, partying on the dance floor, and enjoying food and drinks, that 4 hours turns into nothing. Time flies when you're having fun, right? Well, this effect is known as time distortion, and it functions the same way short-form content does, on a psychological level. The sustained period of dopamine in your brain distracts its perception of time, which causes hours to fly by like they were nothing. Seems obvious, right? But this effect of short-form content makes it terrible for trying to focus, because now without your phone, every minute grudgingly scrapes by in comparison. With all these terrible symptoms, why don't companies do something to combat them? I'll give you a list of possible reasons. I'm not saying companies actively want their users to be addicted, but rather, they are monetarily encouraged to lengthen the amount of time a user spends on the platform. Let me explain. In TikTok's privacy policy, it states TikTok has the right to monitor your device's keystroke patterns, location, installed apps, and even file names, just to mention a few. Not to mention the information TikTok discovered from you about what videos you like, share, comment on, or even just watch. All this information is very valuable to advertisers in a practice known as data brokering. The fact of the matter is, when the app is free, you are the product, and TikTok wants users to give them as much information as possible so they can sell it to advertisers who then distribute targeted ads to your device. TikTok isn't alone in this either, as most social media and short-form content platforms broker their user information like this.
Hello, viewer. I hope you have been paying attention. Briefly, may I interest you in a delicious thesis statement? Short form content is a dangerous epidemic able to damage attention span, concentration, and create time distortion. Now, back to the video.
Despite how terrible these symptoms are, we've done it to ourselves. All the platforms I've mentioned have millions of users, and that number is only growing. We buy the very illness we are now being diagnosed with. It's a grim look on things, but it's not the end either. Human attention span may be shrinking, but it can always grow too. Books, movies, comics, or biking, walking, hiking, running, camping, swimming. There's a beautiful world out there, and it's waiting for you to return to it.